Hi everyone, I'm Vicki and welcome back to my channel. I appreciate you stopping by. Today I'm going to be making another Christmas card for day 4 of my holiday series, and I'll be using the fir branch from the Tim Holtz Sizzix Festive Gatherings, and my card front will be based with the Spellbinders scored and pierced rectangles, and the ornament that I'm going to use that will hang from the branch, I'm going to use the Hero Arts Nested Circle Infinity Dies. That's a mouthful. I'm going to be using one of the circles from here for that ornament. And then we'll probably bring in some embellishments from a couple of the die sets. But for now, let's get started with this. So to get started on our die cutting, we're going to cut the fir branch from the Festive Gatherings die set. And I'm going to cut 2 of those from Fern Cardstock from Spellbinders. And then for the card base piece, I'm going to cut using the largest die from the scored and pierced, I believe it's scored and pierced rectangles from Spellbinders. We're going to use the largest die, and that will make a nice little dashed pattern around the paper. And then after that, then I will show you what I'm going to do to prepare the cardstock for our ornament. So I'll be right back. For the Christmas ornament for the front of the card, I thought we would watercolor the paper for it. So what I have done is used masking tape to tape down a piece of hot press watercolor paper. This is Paul Rubens watercolor paper, and it can just be probably cardstock if that's all you have, but I'm going to use this. And I have some watercolor called Dark Planet from Masha's Watercolors. You can find her shop on Etsy. And what we will do is just add a lot of water using this mop brush, or I call it a mop brush. It's actually a silver black velvet 3/4 inch brush, but I'm just going to add a lot of water on it because this is a granulating watercolor, and they seem to be more granulating with the more color that you, the more water that you add to the paper. So I'm going to do that and get a nice base of water on the paper. Then we're going to bring in a smaller brush and get the watercolor paint frothed up a bit, and I'm just going to add it to my palette over here. Grab some more water and flick it all over my paper. That's good. It will not make a difference, I assure you. So that looks pretty good for start, and let's go ahead and add a little bit more water. See, that's like it never even happened. I'm going to get this good and coated with water. And then I'm going to start laying down in a left to right, back and forth fashion some of the watercolor until I get what I feel is a decent amount for my first layer. And then I'm going to use my heat tool to dry it. And I'm going to add layers of this same watercolor on top of this. But first, I'm going to heat set it. So I went ahead and dried that first layer. I'm going to go back into my water cup, drain off about half the water, and then I'm going to go back into my paint again. And this time I'm not going to add a base of water first. I'm just going to go back and forth, and if I need to add water, like now it's getting a little dry, if I need to add water I will, but I don't want it to be such a watered down layer as what my first one was. I just find that it's easier to go light at first and then add more later, because it's with watercolor you can take it away, but it's so much easier to just not add too much to start with. Okay, now that I've got layer 2 down, I'm going to dry this with my heat tool, and I'll be right back. So I've got layer 2 pretty much dry. It doesn't have to be all the way. I'm just making this up as we go along. Anyway, if you like to play with watercolors, you know what I'm saying. And I'm going to repeat the process for a 3rd time and go ahead and add another layer of the watercolor. And what I'm wanting is kind of a rosy, oh, I don't know. This watercolor paint has like a gold undertone. Let me add some more water. Has a gold undertone. And so I want it to be a little bit splotchy, but not real splotchy. Just show a little bit of texture, kind of like that. And I will go ahead and dry this one. So here we have the dry and removed from the hardboard watercolor paper. It turned out a little darker than I anticipated, but that's okay. That's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the Hero Arts Nested Circle Infinity dies, and I decided to use the 8th from the smallest circle die to cut my ornament. And I will cut that from the watercolor paper. And then I'm going to bring in the Spellbinders Festive Ornaments dies that were designed by Nicole Spohr. And I like her ornament topper. So I brought in 2 scraps of paper. They kind of look the same here. But I'm going to cut this piece from foil gold. And then I'm going to cut the part with the hook or the hanger from some silver mirror cardstock. And those are just scraps, but any cardstock would work. But those are the ones I'm going to use. So I'm going to die cut those items. Actually, I'm going to do one more. Let me see what I did with the die from, here we go. I'm also going to use this little star from Honeybee Stamps, Lovely Layers Party Frames. And I think I'm going to cut that one from some Altenew glitter cardstock. So here we have the die cut pieces for our ornament, the watercolor cardstock, and the pieces from the Spellbinders, I think it's, what is it? Festive Ornaments for the topper. And what I'm going to do is grab that with some tweezers. And I'm going to glue the gold piece on top of this one. Actually, I'm going to grab that from the edge so we don't smear it. That looks good. And then we will try and center this star. And again, this star was from the center, and slash smallest die from the Honeybee Stamps Party Frames. When I catalog all of my dies and stamps, and I put if it's got a star, if it's got this, if it's got that. So we'll just try to center that the best we can without it having to be exact. Now I'm getting glue everywhere. And we're going to take the ornament topper and put some glue on the back of that. Let me grab it here. Push that up a smidge. So I'm bringing in the Misty with my photopolymer sticky mat in it, and we're going to use the Picket Fence Studios Swanky Christmas Sentiments. And I chose Joyeux Noel. Pronunciation may or may not be accurate, but I like the look of that one with this card. So let's go ahead and set that aside and bring in our card front panel. And remember, this is the one that I cut from Spellbinders Fog Cardstock using the scored and pierced rectangles dies from Spellbinders. Just going to place that in my Misty and grab some VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink. And we'll just ink up this stamp. Let's see how that looks. Not too bad, but I think I'll do it one more time and darken that up just a bit. Okay, that should be good. Off camera, I assembled my 2 fir branches, and I glued the first one down to the card front, and I had also put Not Your Mama's foam tape behind the gray panel and attached it to a side folding card base. So now I've got glue on the back of this one, and I just want to decide where I would like for it to hang, and I think that will be okay. Let's go ahead and put the paperweight here. And I've also added foam tape to the back side of the ornament. But before we take that apart, I'm going to put some Diamond from DMC. I'm going to put some of this floss on here to look like it's tied to one of the branches. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to tie this thread to the ornament topper. And I'm also going to put a bow on it that I'm going to make out of this same thread. It's a little tricky for me and my broken thumb, but all will prevail. So let's go ahead and cut that piece off wherever I put my scissors. Get rid of that. And I'll cut off more than we need. And then just set that aside. It's probably not ready to be moved yet, and it's not. Let's go ahead and add these tweezers to this side so that'll hold it in place. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the release paper on the ornament. And then see if we can get that lined up here. It takes me twice as long as a normal person. Get another pair of tweezers. And move my little bow again, or my knot. And I would like, I think, further down. Yeah, I think that'll work. And then in the end, I will actually do that now. Let's go ahead and glue this in here. Work it underneath maybe some of these branches. Let's see. And of course, the one I want it to move is glued good. We're going to make it work. Okay. And then whenever that's dry, I will go ahead and remove the rest of that floss. And while all of that is drying, let's go ahead and just add this here. Actually, let me get this, well, I can flip it over. There we go. I have some gems from, I believe they're Picket Fence Studio, and they are called Day and Night. What I did is I picked out all of the white ones / clear, and I'm going to pretend that I can turn these over easily. And let's just go ahead and start placing them. I'm kind of looking at it as if it was a clock on the 6, 3, and 9. Again, precision is overrated. And so is this tool. And we'll put these here. Something like that. Let's go ahead, let's move this temporarily and put some glue to glue these down, starting with the bottom. Let's leave that there. And I'm going to add, I made a little bow out of that same floss that we used to string the ornament to the tree with. And I would like to just place it here at the top. And that glue will also help to hold that bow tied. And we will trim those strings off whenever I think it's set up pretty good. So the glue is mostly dry now. I can still see it a little bit wet on the bow, so I'm not going to risk it. But all I'm going to do now is trim off the excess on this side. That top piece I'm going to leave because I think it'll fit in the envelope okay. But I'll take some pictures once the glue dries and you'll be able to see what our final product is. I've added a list of all the products I used in the description box below the video for your use, just in case you're interested. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you enjoyed what you saw, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to my channel by hitting that subscribe button and click on the bell if you would like to be notified of future videos. Until next time, happy making!